I think I'll do it. Do what? I'll get Fortnite again. No! Don't do it! What's wrong? It's just, I don't like live service games. What? But they're pretty alright. No! You just don't get it. What don't I get? These games are the greediest, you know. They are what's wrong with the gaming industry right now. Whoa there. Let's just calm down a little and... No! I have to vent about this. Okay, but...
Now!
Okay.
Live service games are a vast group of games. However, to put it short, anything that needs online to be playable is pretty much live service. Let's not confuse that to games that can be played offline but have online features. In other words, many shooters, MMOs, battle royales, and of course gacha games are mostly live service. But that doesn't necessarily mean those are the only genre of games you would see with that type of treatment. There are some co-op games like that one Suicide Squad game in the Destiny series, to name a few. Whoever's in charge of managing the game would have servers for that game open, and once they're done supporting the game, they can close the servers and that's the end of the story. Once the servers are closed, any purchases you've made in the game, any progress you had in the game, or any possible way to play the game is gone just like that. So you can see why they're controversial in many ways.
What about games like TF2 or Genshin Impact? Do you have problems with those games? First of all, putting those two games in the same argument is crazy work. Second of all, those games aren't bad, but here's the thing. And now that you've seen the thing, let me show you the problem I have with these types of games.
I stated earlier that these games are run by servers. This alone brings many problems. Forget about the fact that they can be shut down. Although I've mentioned that already, I'll get back on that soon. But the very first problem that these games have is the fact that you need internet to play them. Nowadays, internet is so accessible and has better speeds than ever before. But depending on where you live, you may not be as fortunate as someone else. Say your internet speed is like 16 megabytes per second. That's pretty unoptimal to play something like a shooter where you need good latency to be able to react to what you're playing. Of course, that's just a general problem since that would be more so something to do with online rather than live service. But at the same time, live service games are only online, so these problems are there no matter what. But what frustrates me the most about the live service games' servers is the fact that they would typically be more exclusive to regions. I remember when Multiverses was still live. By the way, it was a live service game. The servers were in like 3 or 4 regions. You had America, Europe, Australia, and I think East Asia. I can't remember. But the problem was I lived in the Middle East during the time I played the game. And let me tell you, that was some of the worst connection I've ever experienced in a game. It wasn't even my fault. I had pretty good internet and it was even connected to an Ethernet. But I got punished because I didn't live in one of those regions to be able to have a better time online. The same thing happens in gacha games where if you aren't playing in a region that's close to you, then get ready to have such an awful time trying to do an action.
What the? Since when did you play those games? I've never seen you play them. Don't worry about that. On to my next point.
Live service games shut down. A lot. They're pretty much guaranteed to shut down at some point in time. Concord, one of the greatest games of all time,
You're lying. I am.
shut down about 2 weeks after the game came out. It was a live service game and I guess this game is an exception because people were able to refund the game. But typically, live service games will have some sort of in-game purchases you can do. That is, if the game is free. Sometimes they won't be free and you actually have to buy the game, which is a crime in itself. But anyways, if you buy anything when the game's servers are live, after they shut down, you'll lose everything. No way to get your money back, no way to even enjoy what you bought afterwards. Gacha games are obviously games that many people sink a lot of money in, but they can't stay open forever, you know. Many mobile gacha games don't stay open for over 5 years. And if anything, that's true to gacha games in general. But after they're gone, that's it. Of course, the Cognosphere games, which was formerly Hoyoverse, which was formerly MiHoYo, like Genshin Impact or Zenless Zone Zero, feel like they won't close anytime soon. They're super popular and look like they'll have support for a long time, but I can't say it will last forever. Once the game stops getting new content, it may end up being abandoned later on. And especially since there are many companies starting to actually try to compete with these games, I can't say for sure they'll stay open forever. Let me show you a graph.
And you can relax, it's not the subscriber graph. Ah, thank God, you had me worried for a second.
This is a Google Trends graph showing the popularity of Genshin Impact in the last 3 months. As you can see, the game gets popular when there's an update or a live stream about the next update. Imagine if that stops. What do you think will happen? Sure, there will be people who won't put the game down, but the majority will pretty much stop playing. It's not guaranteed that that is what will end the game's service, but it's not out of the question. There are so many games that I know Eeb used to play in the past where they're now unavailable.
Tales of Cristoria was my favorite. Oh, how I miss it! Right.
But all in all, these games don't stay forever, and unfortunately, once they're gone, you can't really play it again. Unless there's a really unlikely chance the developer will allow some sort of offline mode. A lot of games now have started to go for a live service model. They're pretty popular and they certainly do have a fan base. But what I don't get is why can't some of them be straight up offline? To bring back that one Suicide Squad game, I'm positive that game could have been fine as an offline game that allows online features. Dragon Ball Xenoverse gives you the option to go on offline and online hubs, which, well, it should be obvious that that game isn't a live service one, and a lot of gacha games should allow that sort of thing too. If you only want to play the story, you should be able to play that at any time without the need of online. I get that the game has certain things be calculated by the time of day for stuff like materials and whatnot, but let's be real, this works perfectly fine offline. I'm not really saying that these types of games are bad though. I'm just saying, does it all really have to be online based? I get that the company running the game would probably profit more by doing it this way, but then why don't you encourage online play for certain stuff and offline play for base stuff? I don't play Genshin Impact much, but games like that feel nice to revisit once in a while. And doing all the content you missed out on is also pretty neat. I wouldn't necessarily come back for the events and stuff, but they are there whenever I want to do them. So it would be cool if when the game comes to a close, there should at least be some way to allow players to play the game's story and unlock characters in an alternative method that's not pulling for them. Some of these live service games are huge, and when they end their service, it pretty much becomes lost history. There are movements like Stop Killing Games to try and change this type of thing, but who knows what will happen in the future seeing that many companies are opting to go for a live service route. The player is really the one who loses more than the company when the game goes out of service.
I mean, I never said I liked that practice, I just wanted to play some Fortnite. So what I said meant nothing to you, huh? Not one bit. Why do I even bother? I mean, you're the one playing the game right now. Huh?
What the?
Huh?
Oh, it was just a dream.
I think I'll do it. I'll get Fortnite again. Oh man, here we go again.